A great evening to you. Warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. The International Monetary Fund is projecting that Ghana will return to the single-digit inflation from next year. This was captured in the latest World Economic Outlook report. George Yaffe has the rest of the story from Washington, D.C.
This projection was captured in the World Economic Outlook report released by the IMF on the sidelines of the World Bank IMF spring meetings in Washington, D.C., here, USA. The fund believes that if government sticks to those monetary and fiscal reforms under the IMF program, then indeed inflation will go ahead to trend down to hit the target of 8%. This doesn't mean that there wouldn't be blips next year, but the fund believes that the programs and the reforms that government is implementing will ensure that inflation will go down to hit that level being proposed or forecasted in its World Economic Outlook report. The fund believes that it is very important that the government stick to these reforms to help drive down inflation. The fund also believes that a lot more still needs to be done on the fiscal side, especially when it comes to election-related spending for this year, to ensure that inflation continues to trend down. The fund for this year is also projecting that inflation will end the year for 2024 at 15%. That is also what the Bank of Ghana is looking at. By the end of this year, that inflation would end at 15% or maximum up to 17% or even trend down to 13%. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, recently argued that the worst that we've recorded with respect to the inflation rate might be coming to an end as he expects the rate to trend downwards in the coming months. He argued that they are committed to implementing those monetary measures to ensure that inflation trends down. For some, what could be the impact of this? This could mean that the Bank of Ghana may slow down on those tough policy measures that he has been introducing to try and check inflation in the market. For instance, hiking the policy rate to ensure that they deal with that excess liquidity in the market. This could also result that Bank of Ghana may go low on those cash reform measures that have seen the ratio increase to try and check liquidity in the market. From the IMF headquarters in Washington, D.C., this is George Yaffe reporting for Joy Business.
And we stay with George Yaffe because the IMF is asking government to do more in the area of revenue mobilization to help deal with external threats to the economy and debt distress concerns. We can take a listen from the IMF.
A decline in the overall fiscal deficit. So the overall fiscal deficit in 2023 was 4% of GDP compared to 5.2% of GDP in 2022. It is projected to continue declining to 3.6% in 2024, reaching 2.7% of GDP by 2029. So that will bring debt levels in the region down from 55% in 2023 to close to 44% by the medium term in 2029. Now, clearly, there are risks to this baseline that we just mentioned, and I think some of the risks we have already mentioned. Some of the countries that have elections this year are located in Sub-Saharan Africa, and our chapter discuss, the risks of fiscal slippage in countries with election in an election year. In terms of policies, we advise countries in Sub-Saharan Africa to increase their revenue potential. So our chapter has a box 3, discussing the revenue potential. Our department has launched a staff discussion note recently on how emerging markets and developing economies could raise revenue potential. And the main instrument is through broadening the tax base. We believe that broadening the tax base could be one way to increase revenues, including in the region. It's important as well, as been mentioned in the questions, to improve and modernize public financial management systems. And by that, the implementation of fiscal rules, as Vitor said, or credible medium-term frameworks, that's something that countries in the region could implement in the coming years to improve their conduction of fiscal policy. The fund is also contributing through capacity development. The fund is also contributing through IMF arrangements and through international cooperation on that restructuring. Now, moving to Ghana, Ghana is one example of how this fiscal consolidation is on the way. They have done a strong revenue mobilization in recent years and also controlled expansion.
Meanwhile, economist Professor Eric Osei-Esigbe is worried that rising prices of crude and finished petroleum products could hurt the country's economic recovery.
That's a heightened risk, right? It's a very downside one for the economy because our economy is overly dependent on the global economy, right? Which comes through over-reliant on imports, from everything, crude oil to automobiles, to food and everything. We import a chunk of our consumption, to Ghana. So if there's a global economic shock, especially if it has to do with crude oil prices, it gets directly into our transportation system, our transportation fares, and therefore it passes through to inflation. And once inflation starts going up, the ramification to the economy, it begins to reverse every gains that we've made because interest rates will have to respond. The central bank has to respond by upwardly adjusting the interest rates, and that will mean that credit will be further squeezed.
Away from Washington, D.C., back home, stakeholders in the cocoa sectors from Ghana and Ivory Coast are currently meeting in Accra to discuss new measures of receiving more from cocoa proceeds when the global price shoots up. Cocoa prices on the global market recently saw a sharp rise, compelling Ghana and Ivory Coast to increase farmgate prices for farmers. Discussing the way forward at the Côte d'Ivoire-Ghana Cocoa Initiative, Public Affairs Manager at Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, disclosed that the two countries will be pushing for higher prices for farmers.
President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, and his counterpart, President Alassane Ouattara, initiated this whole initiative on the back of poor price to cocoa farmers. Today, the price of cocoa has increased at the world market, and you remember that the living income differential was introduced as a way of helping farmers improve their income. Considering what has happened over the years, the steering committee will today also have a look at going forward. What should be the approach? Yes, the living income differential was introduced at a point. Now you realize that the market is also improving. What is the new approach going forward? I'm not in a position to give you details because, yes, that's what the committee are going to look at. But issue of price, issue of how to manage the markets, and issue about production will definitely come up in this meeting. The issue about smuggling is one of the topics that will also be discussed today because you will realize that between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, the whole issue of smuggling, we've been at the receiving end. When I say we've been at the receiving end, we are the two major producers of cocoa. As such, you are unable to just keep your stocks and trade at a particular point in time. So we have done forward sales. Doing forward sales, and at a time where there's very limited supply in the market, people will want to have cocoa from these two countries. And then you realize that we have commitment to people we have traded cocoa to, so we have to supply cocoa to them. At this particular point, because we have to deliver cocoa to those we have contract with, and we do not have access to sell on the spot, people want to take advantage because immediately they take it out of us and then we are not delivering to the spot. Then they will go and sell and get benefit as a result of it. So yes, issues of smuggle will be discussed in this meeting.
EU Ambassador to Ghana, Richard Razali, has emphasized the significant strides achieved under the Interim Economic Partnership Agreement. He attributes the success to the technical assistance provided to Ghanaian exporters. He made these remarks during the launch of Europe Market here in Accra.
As part of the annual Europe Month celebrations in May 2024, the European Union delegation to Ghana launched Europe Month, highlighting the importance of youth and skills development in the European Union-Ghana partnership. Speaking to the media, the EU ambassador to Ghana, Richard Razali, emphasized their commitment to preventing substandard products from entering the EU market.
Most important element to retain about the EPA is the European market is quota-free, duty-free for Ghanaian and African goods. The only elements that we are stringent with is what we call the phytosanitary requirements, because like Ghanaian public, we don't want the European consumers to be poisoned by whatever can happen on a specific batch. So this is a daily, this happens a daily event on my desk. And the beauty of it is we are organizing technical support to the main Ghanaian value chain in order precisely to meet these requirements.
He further revealed a lineup of events for the celebration of Europe Month in May 2024.
Partnership dialogue, which will take place between the European Union and the government of Ghana. Usually it's chaired by the Vice President and co-chaired by myself. This annual meeting is an opportunity to bring together the ambassadors of the European Union accredited to Ghana with the representative of different ministries, what you call MDAs, as a way of information. Ourselves and the member states are heavily committed when it comes to trade, security, sustainable development. And of course, this is a way to deepen the global and overall bilateral relation. Which leads me to the is called Europe Day. It will be quite a sizable reception, and it's to celebrate the 9th of May 1950, a date at which the very idea of the European Union has been put on the table.
The EU-Ghana Pact for Skills program signifies a partnership between the European Union and Ghana to invest in the future of Ghanaian youth and trade development.
To some revenue stories, the Ghana Revenue Authority has signed an information sharing agreement with 170 countries across the globe to support the move to tax foreign income of resident Ghanaians. According to the GRA, this is an existing policy which has been passed in 2016, but lack of adequate data delayed its implementation. Speaking to clarify the law, the GRA also dismissed claims that this is a new tax to replace the VAT on electricity. Here's Chief Revenue Officer Free Zones at the Domestic Tax Division, Dominic Nate.
This is not a new tax. It has been in the laws since 2016. Section 3, Section 111, and Section 103. Anyone who is in Ghana, who earns income outside Ghana, who is a resident person and earns income outside Ghana, is supposed to consolidate all incomes, whether earned in Ghana or outside, and then subject that to tax. And this is not a new tax. It's in the Act already. We are just now enforcing that provisions in the Act.
So if it's a law that has been passed since 2016, why are we now implementing it or enforcing it?
There is a process. We have signed compact with other countries. Now they have provided us with the information. So we had enough information to kickstart. We don't start anything when you don't have the basis of getting information on people's income outside. So now that we have signed agreement with about 170 countries where we exchange information, now we have information enough to believe that we can drive that aspect of the law and implement it successfully.
So is it just about paying taxes, as in paying money, or an exchange of information? Like you said, you've signed a pact with 170 countries. What is it about? Is it just about paying money, or what exactly is it?
It is not just about paying money. The Act is clear that anyone who earns income, whether small, big, or whatever it is, you have to pay tax on it. And so if we have, for some time, we have left that aspect of the law hanging. Now we said we are implementing the law. So it is nothing new. We are just bringing in all the people who are covered under the tax law to do what the law requires of them. And that is exactly so.
Is it replacing the VAT on electricity?
It has nothing to do with VAT at all. This has nothing to do with VAT on electricity. It is just provisions in the Act that we have not been implementing, and now we are ready to implement it, and that's all. It has nothing to do with any other tax. It is income, either income from investment or income from business that is taking place outside the shores of Ghana. We just consolidate with your income here, and then we tax it. And note, we are not just taxing that income that bring all the monies there and we are taxing it. You might have paid some taxes on those incomes outside. You just bring the certificate that shows that you have paid tax on that. And so we compute if there is still some taxes that have to be paid, then you pay. If there is no tax to be paid on that, you are free. There's nothing to force you to pay taxes on incomes that you have already paid taxes on. No, it's not like that.
Let's stay a while longer with the Ghana Revenue Authority because they have educated some stakeholders on tax amendment laws which waived penalty payments on non-tax compliant individuals who volunteer their tax information. The move is expected to boost voluntary payments and, of course, support revenue mobilization. The authority has been engaging stakeholders in Accra as part of activities to mark the Tax and Good Governance Month.
The month of April every year is declared by the Ghana Revenue Authority as Good Governance Month to improve on tax collection. Addressing some stakeholders as part of activities slated for the month, the GRA indicated its commitment to the amended Revenue Administration Law, which gives waivers to individuals who disclose their tax information to the authority and make payments. Assistant Commissioner of Audit at the Large Tax Office, Dr. Martin Kobio Yamborija, explains to Joy Business.
As a means to encourage people to voluntarily comply, we amended the Section 74 of the Revenue Administration Act that if, as a taxpayer, you have discovered that information that you have earlier on provided to the Ghana Revenue Authority is not accurate, or information that you should have provided you have not provided, and then you, on your own volition, decide to come and then disclose that information to the Commissioner General, then the benefit is that any penalties that could have been imposed on you, either monetary or imprisonment, you are given a waiver of that. So we want to encourage people, and this is something that is not just like a one-off amnesty. It is something that we have incorporated into the law that at any time, a taxpayer can always take advantage of that.
Dr. Yamborija justified the observance of the month of April as Tax and Good Governance Month since it is the beginning of a new quarter of the year.
They are required to file their annual income tax return not later than the end of April. And because we want them to file their returns, the month of April is normally set aside to sensitize taxpayers and then encourage them and also educate them on how to file their income tax returns and also pay any tax thereon. So if you ask me what is the objective, our objective is to create awareness and also remind our client, that's the taxpayers, that they have an obligation to file their tax returns.
The Commissioner General and other officers of the authority will be carrying out educational programs and outdoor activities across the country to enhance tax collection.
You're still watching Prime Business. Guinness Ghana Breweries PLC has introduced to the Ghanaian market its new Malta Guinness League can called the Jeje can. According to the marketing manager for the non-alcoholic category, Diana Idu Asari Dako, the new can is designed to bring more comfort to its customers. She said Guinness Ghana Breweries will continue to engage consumers for better services. She spoke to Joy Business at the unveiling of the new Jeje can. Here's more.
The idea behind the Jeje can is to drive premiumization of cans, increase brand penetration, and appeal among consumers. Diana Duasari said the change effected does not affect the price.
So for us at Guinness Ghana, it's very key for us to, listen to our consumer needs and be able to craft products and innovations that meet those needs. This new Jeje can, as you can see it, is more trendy, more modern, and also it helps with convenience in terms of space, packing, loading, and all that. So for us, it's to give consumers something that will be convenient, easier to use, or easier to enjoy the great liquid that we have for them, or we are offering them.
Media personality Stacey Amwatin urged consumers to patronize the product of the company.
We have been excited about this new can, and the love that we have received from other people who came today is a testament that this new Jeje can is actually going to be received well on the market. And there's one thing I want everybody to know: the content is still the same. It's the same old Malta Guinness The taste has not changed. The content has not changed. We've just changed our can into a more sleek one. And this one, Oko Kroma Bet Media Shop. bag. You can just put it in your bag and go out with it. It's easy to take. When the kids are going to school, you do not have to worry about it fitting in the chop box because it's so sleek and it will fit in just perfectly. And the most amazing thing is the price is still the same. So if you go out there, know the price is the same. If anybody tells you otherwise, please don't buy it. Go to the next person and grab your Jeje can.
The University of Development Studies is seeking to collaborate with International Labour Organization's Productivity Ecosystems for Decent Work project to establish a Shea Entrepreneurship Resource Center. The center will focus on understanding labour dynamics, productivity enhancement, and sustainable practices within the shea value chain. The center will be equipped with modern scientific machines to enable the conduct of primary shea product tests, student internship, shea knowledge dissemination, as well as setting up shea data pool to inform policy and practice. Vice-Chancellor of the university, Professor Seidu Al-Hassan, made these known at a certification of program by the ILO Productivity Ecosystems for Decent Work project.
Despite its potential to enhance Ghana's non-traditional export earnings and to diversify the sources of the much-needed foreign exchange earnings, Ghana's shea industry remains underdeveloped. Shea butter exports were valued at over $92 million in 2022. The Future Markets Insight in 2023 valued the global shea butter market at $2.75 billion. The figure is projected to reach $5.58 billion by 2033.
We are going to initiate a project that will involve coming to you once again to collect vital information so that together we can prepare what may be called Northern Shea Enterprise Directory.
Speaking at a result sharing and certification of beneficiary SMEs at Tamale in the Northern region, a project office of the Trade for Decent Work project, Samuel Isiedu Onoma, noted that apart from the training beneficiary, SMEs have been supported with basic equipment.
The ILO has been supporting these enterprises with some equipment to enhance their productivity. You know, this sector dwells a lot on simple equipment, but even though they are simple equipment, they help improve productivity. We have the millers, we have the crushers, we have the kneaders.
The founder of the Agape Shea Butter Cooperative, Esther Namburi, said the training has helped reduce operational costs.
My journey with ILO is that they train us on how to organize our processing centers and also how to treat our workers well, safety and health. They also train us on 5X. Even me, I always say that if I had gone through this training before starting my business, because when you look at the way we structured our facility, like the buildings.
The International Labour Productivity Ecosystems for Decent Work is a multi-country program initiated by the ILO in 2021 with operations in Ghana, South Africa, and Vietnam. It is funded by the government of Switzerland and Norway and seeks to promote productivity growth for decent work.
Thanks so much for watching Prime Business. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I leave you with international business.